$12 trillion for the bankers with their fiat derivatives, but even loans to the automakers, you can't have that. They call this socialism, but this isn't socialism. Socialism would be propping up the automakers, and well, I mean, that would just be you know investment in the infrastructure, really. But instead, it's just all going offshore to these banks, is called hot money, as Webster calls it. So, Webster, you've got the floor. Break down what's happening with the auto industry right now and this incredible announcement that Obama has made.
I think we've had a catastrophic defeat for the United States. We've taken a giant step towards the collapse, the economic collapse of this country with what Obama has done. Welcome to the fascist corporate state. That's what this is. This is not socialism. This is the corporate state. Now, what Obama says today is that he has no money, nothing, for General Motors and Chrysler. Now, this is a government that has given about $3 billion of bonuses for Bank of America, about $3 billion of bonuses for Merrill Lynch, now a part of Bank of America. We've got about $250 million of bonuses for AIG.
Out of bailout money.
Out of bailout money. So what Chrysler and General Motors need to survive for about a year is there's a good part of it that has been given out as bonuses to these parasitical jackal hyenas that run Wall Street. Now, I think this is catastrophic. You can see that Obama's aiming at two things. He wants to destroy the automobile industry, and he wants to destroy the UAW. They want to destroy industrial unionism, militant CIO-style trade unionism in the United States. And they're going to put these companies through bankruptcy. This is clear. They're saying that they'll guarantee the warranty on the cars that have already been bought, but this is heading for a massive downsizing and the busting of the union. And I think this is, the idea basically is if you don't have those factories in Detroit, if you don't have those production lines, above all, if you don't have that tool and die capability, meaning machine tools, you're on your way to a banana republic. You're on your way to being a derelict hulk, a ravaged wreck, floating on the ocean of adventures, at the mercy of every other country in the world.
And let's be clear, in the IMF and World Bank agreements that they've had with third world countries and first world nations that they've bankrupted by design, they always tell them you've got to sell off your industry, you've got to break it down, because the banking economy, the fiat economy, the fraud economy, the casino economy doesn't want competition in the real world, because these magicians and their fiat currency openly want a post-industrial society, as Bilderberg Group says, and Club of Rome Group say, because they want total control. And once they have the nation fully deindustrialized, then people will only be able to join the military, only be able to join government service, and will be a giant governmental-run third world banana republic, as you've just said. So this plan is clearly coming into view. Break down what he said in this speech.
But you say fiat, right? It's going to be Fiat Chrysler. So we're going to do a dimension of fiat money. Chrysler's going to run on fiat money from Fiat in Turin. We're headed towards a post-industrial junkyard, a post-industrial rubble field, a moonscape, a cratered landscape with wrecked factories. Obama basically says that the plans submitted by Chrysler and General Motors are inadequate. And actually what Obama's looking at is the gangrene economy. Obama believes that everything should be green, everything should be low energy intensity and so forth. He wants them to build green cars. This is absolutely crazy stuff, because this can't be done. And they all agree that in order to have green cars manufactured, you've got to bust the union, take away the health care from the retirees and the current workers, drive down the hourly wage, and transform Detroit from what it was, which was a high-wage economy. Right? Goes back, Henry Ford, even Henry Ford realized you've got to pay the auto worker enough so that he can buy the cars that he's actually producing. But now they say, no, we're going to drive them down to the sweatshop level. Right?
Yeah, they don't want a growing economy. And to segue, because in all our interviews we've done in the last 2 days, we haven't gotten into this, and then we'll go back into the cars. Just like 2 weeks ago, I had the head of the American Legion on, and it was in the Associated Press. He went to meet with Obama, and Obama said, the rumors you've heard are true. I want to make injured veterans, not just regular veterans, but amputees, people that have catastrophic loss. I want them to have to get their own insurance and pay for their own medical care. So they're not just talking about taking the auto workers' pensions away or health care away,
right.
That they've signed contracts and paid money in to fund. They're now talking about taking it away from the troops. Can you talk about taking the health care away from veterans?
Well, they basically want to drive down the standard of living. When Obama says health care reform, he's referring to a process of rationing of care under the cover of maybe extending coverage to people who don't have it, to essentially lop off the top of the coverage area so that the expensive operations will not
You get
take
an
place.
aspirin instead of a surgery. But
you'll be given Band-Aids for cancer.
But I mean, specifically, because we're making a film right now, so this will also be in the film. Specifically, Can you speak to that move, just the arrogance of a, quote, only left cover could do this? Oh, I'm the liberal. I'm going to give you socialism. It's not socialism to take the health care away from the troops and make them pay for it themselves with insurance. Specifically, speak to that.
Well, the idea is that we have this book by Daschle where he says that if you have an affliction, you better learn to live with your affliction. This is the guy that Obama wanted to have as the great reformer of health and human services until he was knocked out by the fact that he was a tax cheat. He didn't pay $150,000 of taxes. Most people would be in jail. Daschle so far is not in jail. Daschle, of course, is a creature of Citibank. Citibank, the biggest employer in South Dakota, which sponsored his political career. So this was the guy that Obama was going to bring in and give command over the wrecking of the healthcare system. Again, with this left cover, that I'll extend some kind of Band-Aids and aspirin coverage to people who don't have anything. But in terms of the expensive technologies, those will be rationed and people will be expected to die. Again, if you're over 65, you're probably going to be a candidate to die. If you are overweight, if you smoke, if you have any of these other things that mark you as a high-risk subject, then they'd say a cost-benefit analysis makes you a useless eater, and your responsibility is to suppress yourself for the bottom line of the system, meaning private insurance companies that are piling in to take on parts of this stuff.
But specifically speak to the troops in that proposal.
Yeah, it's wrong. It shouldn't be done.
I mean, specifically yourself, as we're taping for the film. Can you speak in your own words to even trying that with the troops?
Yeah, it's crazy. This is what Bush did, right? Bush was chiseling away and gouging away at veterans benefits and stuff like this, right? The VA hospital system and so forth was massively underfunded under Bush, and Bush, of course, was rightly excoriated, right? People said you're an irresponsible criminal. Now Obama does it, and either they don't notice or they say, well, he inherited this terrible situation. So with left cover, isn't it amazing what you can do when you have a cheering section of left liberal Kool-Aid drinkers and loons? Look what you can get away with. And that's Obama. I think Obama is the greatest con artist of modern times, especially what he did today, right? He looks at the camera and he says, I will fight for you. I will fight for you. I'm trying to find some way to save your industry. I have a way. Treat them like they're AIG. Throw 20 or 30 billion at them like you throw it at AIG. We had Geithner a week ago coming forward saying, I want 100 billion now for derivatives, for toxic derivatives that have negative value. And he said up to $1 trillion. So there's up to $1 trillion more on top of the top. So 1.7 trillion of Treasury money in addition to the 8-9 trillion of Federal Reserve lending for the banks. But nothing. We can't get 20 billion, 30 billion for Ford and for Chrysler, General Motors, and Ford.
Yeah, we'll say that again because we're taping for the film. But I want to be clear here. They're now calling for $750 billion, admitting that the green taxes are to be paid into the banks. So that's another $750 billion. The IMF World Bank are saying they want $500 billion this week at the G20. So explain that. We're talking 30 to 50 to 1.
Yeah, I think that's the general profile of Obama is it's about 10 trillion, 11 trillion, maybe 12 trillion by now for the banks, only for the banks, for banks, stock brokerages, credit card companies, money markets, mutual funds, basically meaning all derivatives bandits of all stripes. And then compared to that, the useful spending in the stimulus package is about 300 billion, maybe 350 billion. So call it 30 to 1, but we may be closer to 40 to 1, we may be getting up to 50 to 1. So for every dollar that the American people and